course, I'm black. I mean, hell, that's obvious.
I
I grew up in a very, very, very poor community. I grew up in housing projects. And if anybody knew anything about public housing projects, they tend to be really extremely bad. And I will actually see the police come when I was a kid. And of course, I'm in my late 40s. Back in the late 1970s, early 1980s, the police were predominantly white. Us guys that was doing right, because everybody that lived in these housing areas wasn't criminals. You had some of us just wanted to get an education, play football, play basketball, and actually make something out of ourselves. The police would actually come and they would talk to us. They would bring candy sometimes and give us.
And these were white officers, right?
These were white officers in the South. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hey, my name is Eric, and welcome to my channel. Whatever you think is best. I look like a bum, but
it's fine.
So, okay, today I was in one of the local grocery stores here where I live at, and I ran across somebody who recognized me. A policeman asked me, he says, "Man, you're still in the police department?" I said, "No," I said, "I'm retired." And so we just started talking about police stuff, and of course, the issue came up about the defunding of the police and about the police being demonized by the media. And of course, I started going on a rant, giving my opinion about it, and of course, I got very opinionated about it. I probably was kind of, I was doing a little cussing and everything else. This person asked me, he said, "Well, what do you think about some of the shootings and stuff that has happened lately, and with the police?" I said, of course, you have some things that are unjustified and you have a lot of stuff that's justified. I said, however, there's no reason to demonize the police as a whole. I went on to say, if there's an officer that did something wrong, that individual officer needs to pay accountability for, not the entire police department.
So do you think that most cops, when an officer is a dirty cop, most cops will throw him under the bus right away?
I know they would.
Yeah.
Because most police officers that I know are honest. They're good, hardworking people. Most of them are family-oriented. And most police officers become police officers just because they want to do the right thing. When you're dealing with people, especially when police officers start to deal with people that's in the criminal element, things are going to turn bad. And I think sometimes people think they got this big idea, well, it's always going to be just peaches and cream when the police officer deal with people. It is just simply not that way. Some people, you can walk up and the officer can have a good conversation. Even if the officer has to make an arrest, they're going to do what the officer told them to do, because most people are good people. Most people are law-abiding people. But then again, you have those people that are criminals.
Yeah, screw those guys.
Let's go to the criminals. You have those guys who are gangbangers, and they just write down.
Gangbanger, will you agree to that it's a racial issue or just a socioeconomic issue? Let's split it out for the people watching this. Because most people, you're racist, but look at the Carter's King. They can't say you're racist just because of that.
Well, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to be a race thing. Now, don't get me wrong. Race in America has always been in existence. If you're black, Hispanic, whether you're Asian, even white, there's always been people who have their differences with race. However, when it comes down to people doing criminal gang activity, it doesn't matter if you're talking about the local gangs. It don't matter if you're talking about a biker gang. Criminals are criminals. I don't think you can chalk that up to just being a race, because when it comes down to the police, the officers are trained to deal with the person that commits the crime, and just so happen he's affiliated with a particular gang. If he's let's just say, for example, if he's a part of an Asian gang, and they're here committing homicides and carjackings and rapes and stuff like this, well, the officers are going to deal with it. They ain't going to come up and just go, "Oh, well, he's Asian. Oh, leave him the hell alone." No, the officers don't work that way. I grew up in a very, very, very poor community. I grew up in housing projects. And if anybody knew anything about public housing projects, they tend to be really extremely bad. And I will actually see the police come when I was a kid. And of course, I'm in my late 40s, late 1970s, early 1980s. The police were predominantly white. But us guys that was doing right, because everybody that lived in these housing areas wasn't criminals. You had some of us just wanted to get an education, play football, play basketball, and actually make something out of ourselves. The police would actually come and they would talk to us. They would bring candy sometimes and give us.
And these were white officers, right?
These were white officers.
Wow. In the South. Right?
in the South.
Oh, wow.
And sometimes you got an entire black community, and it wouldn't be nothing just it would only just be one white police officer. And I thought, wow, that's amazing for one white police officer to come by himself and risk his life in a black community where the vast majority of them dislike him because he's a different race from them. Well, when I became a police officer, I would sometimes work the shift, and you would have probably 15, 16, 17 officers, or 20 officers sometimes on the shift. And there's times I walked in roll call, and out of 20 officers, every officer in there was black except one white police officer. And he would go out there and police his off in a black community trying to make a difference. But then if it turns bad, all of a sudden, he's a racist. If it turns bad, all of a sudden, police brutality. Well, I was in the law enforcement total altogether from my reserve time all the way until I was full-time for nearly 25 years.
And you are how old now?
I'm 49. When you're growing up in neighborhoods like where I grew up at, you living in a housing project area, and you got drug dealers and you got prostitution as soon as you walk out the door, and you're broke and you're poor.
So how old were you when you saw all this?
Well, I lived in the housing communities my entire life, but when I started to recognize what was, I would imagine, when I was really, really small, 7 or 8, 9 years old, I really didn't pay attention to it because it was just a norm. But I really started to pay attention to it when I got about 13 or 14 years old.
So you were that young and you realized, hey, this is good, this is evil.
Right.
At a young age, wow. So do you think there's hope out there when you were patrolling, you were working the hood, the rough areas? If you saw a 13-year-old, do you feel like you could still save him or her?
Of course. There's always hope. And I think a really, really good, solid, honest police officer that's doing his job the right way and honest, there's always hope. I've heard people say, I've walked into a store and I'm black in a black neighborhood. And just because I have the police uniform on, oh, I hate those so-and-so policemen. I hate those.
Who would be the people telling you this?
Sometimes it's people in the public. You would hear them say it. And I recall a lady parked my squad car behind the store. Sometimes that was a little tactic that we would use. We would park the squad cars behind the store to not let people know we was in the store in case of robbery, something happened. The officer would surprise them by being in the store. In this particular day, I parked my squad car behind the store. I went inside to get a cup of coffee, and I'm in the bag, and I'm drinking my coffee. Just on this particular day, I'm just glad I wasn't getting a lot of calls. And I think some people think that the officer just want to be out there just all the time, just messing with people. I was happy not to be able to get a call where I could take a coffee break, and I think I was eating people gonna say, the donut officer. I probably was eating a donut or something, I don't know, and drinking a cup of coffee. But then all of a sudden, this lady barges in the store. She's a heavyset black female, and she's up at the front talking to the clerk. She don't see me. She says, "Oh, I hate the police. Oh, I hope all of them die. Oh, I hate them." So I sat there and I listened to it. I said, "Nah." I said, "You know what? I'm gonna go up here and talk to her because that's my personality." "How you doing?" She turned around. She saw the uniform. Oh, and she said. She said, "How you doing, officer?" I said, "I'm doing just fine." I said, "How about yourself?" I said, "Oh, I'm doing just fine." I said, "Why do you hate me so much?" I don't hate you." I said, "That's what you said." She says, "No, I don't hate you." I said, "Well, I stood in the back of the store and I said, every word came out your mouth was, I hate the police that. And so I just kind of made the gesture. I looked at the side of my patch and I said, police. I looked at my badge. I said, police. I said, looks like I'm the police. I said, look like you hate me. And she stood there. She just stood there kind of dumbfounded. But I could have left it alone, but I didn't. Because I got a big mouth and I talk a lot. And maybe that's why I'm on this camera. So I sat there. I said, what happened to cause you to feel this hate towards the law enforcement officer? She's the law enforcement officer. What is that? So then I began to realize something else. A lot of them don't even know what law enforcement is. They just know the word police. They don't recognize that word law enforcement in there. That if you don't do what we tell you to do, it's going to be force. She said, oh, well, I've got this boyfriend of mine and the police came and locked him up. What did they lock him up for? I said, they lock him up for nothing. No. He was selling cocaine. I really and truly, in all honesty, I don't know what she thought. Anyway, I quickly made her understand. I said, well, if he wasn't selling the drugs, he wouldn't have never had a conversation with the police in the first place. A lot of things are cause and effect, which if you do something, there's an effect to it. I went back to my childhood when I was watching the drug dealers and stuff and the pimps and the prostitutes in my neighborhood as a kid. And some days I couldn't come outdoors and play. I didn't want to become another statistics or a victim. So we were forced to stay in the house sometimes. And I started thinking about how when the police would come and arrest a drug dealer, how angry the public would get, how angry the people we stayed around with. And I quickly realized the older I got, that's the neighborhood hero. He's the one that's supplying the drugs. He's the one that's, if he's staying with his mom or he's staying with some girl he's sleeping with, or girls, a lot of them sleeping with different women, he's giving them drugs. He's bringing in the drug money. He's the one that's riding around with the big fancy car and the wheels on it, the big fancy wheels and all the gold chains and the gold teeth and shit like that. That's their hero. It's kind of like when I grew up, Superman was my hero. Superman, or, the big strong guys, this was my hero. But in the most black communities, the drug dealer and the criminal is the one that's the hero. So when the police come, you're taking the hero away, they're going to attack you. And it may sound like it's a bunch of hogwash, but this is the truth. When you take him away, because you got to remember something. Even if he's living in the house with his mama, he's the one that's giving her money to pay bills and buy grocery and this, and that. So when you take him away, all of it's gone. So now the police officer just became enemy number one. See, there's two types of people in the black community. You have the people over here who realize that you have to do right and wrong. I mean, there's a difference between right and wrong. And they realize that the only thing you have to do is do right, and right will follow you. But then you have these over here who they are criminals. And then you have the ones that are surrounding the criminals. They may not be criminals, but they house the criminals. That criminal that's where he lay his head and he sleep. He's got the girls that he's illegitimate children by. So you have these over here, but you had us over here who were poor, and we're in the same community. But guess what? We didn't belong in the community. We didn't belong. They attack us because we were different. They was under the impression that we supposed to be just like them. So now we acting different. Oh my God, we're going to get rid of you because you acting white. You are Uncle Tom because you're not like them. So they attack you. I've been attacked many times coming up as a kid because I was just wanting to go to school and get an education. I'm just walking home from school. And the same people that I'm referring to attacked me and my brother. And we sit at home sitting back going, oh my God, man, what did we do to him? We couldn't figure it out. Well, the older I got and the more knowledgeable I became, I realized something. We did do something to him because we wasn't like them. It all stems back to the same thing as when you're dealing with the police. When I was that 12-year-old kid and these gang bangers and these dope dealers and stuff were standing on our porch, because see, when you're in the projects, sometimes if you live on the end apartment or if there's some type of breezeway, they crowd in your breezeway. And if you come outside or if you're a female, they're going to pick with you because they right there. So if you come out to go play, go to the store, go to school, you're going to get confronted. That's the little meeting place where everybody knows they stand out there. This is where they gamble. This is where they sell their drugs at. This is where everybody hook up at. So if that hookup spot just happened to be in front of your door, and you're not like them or you're not doing what they're doing, you just became an outcast and you're going to be attacked, beat up, house broken into, you name it. My answer is going to be the same as when I was a kid. I saw something spectacular happen. One day they was all sitting there, they were selling drugs, and I think they had beat this guy up real bad. I think he owed them some money for some dope, and I was sitting there looking at the window and I was like, oh my God, I was scared to death. I was just shaking all over. I was so nervous because they had beat the guy really bad. And all of a sudden I saw something magical. Just like those thugs and criminals is the neighborhood hero. I saw my hero come. And I saw two white police officers come. And those police officers grabbed them, threw them on the ground, handcuffed them, and arrested them. And you had these people that's over here in this crowd that housed these criminals up. They were angry and yelling and screaming at the police. But then you had us over here who were what we call the law-abiding citizen. Even though we're black just like them, we said, thank God the police came and took them away.
So the community itself, even in the hood, there's still someone out there that wants the police, correct?
Of course there is. What goes on in the black neighborhood is just they teach the bullshit rhetoric of snitches get stitches. They'll come back and shoot into your house and kill you. So now you got these people that want to do the right thing. They want to see the police there. However, they are afraid to step forward and say, we need the police, because if they got on TV and they told the media what really goes on in those neighborhoods and they're screaming for police help, they will quickly be attacked. See, when the police leave, those people still have to live there, and they are very afraid. So in one aspect, I really can't blame some of them because they are afraid. I can't blame some of them because if I were in their shoes, I I don't know if I would say something right then either. However, if it was something horrific that happened, like a murder or a rape, even if I didn't say anything right then, you can definitely believe I would call later on and I would say something. I may ask to be, anonymous about it, but I would definitely say something for sure. That the media has also got a big part in driving certain people to believe that the police is their enemy, especially your local media, because whatever police department's there, your local media is the first one to interact with the police department. And then, of course, they send it worldwide. They send it to every media outsource in this nation that we live in. The media is out to make money. And even in the black community, because you do have a lot of black people who, for example, you have a large portion of black males in the black community from coast to coast, from the East Coast to the West Coast. And it's a proven fact. I'm not just talking about this is a proven statistical fact that are reading on a second and third grade level. So having said that, when you have people with an IQ level at low, and it's not bashing anybody, it's just the fact of the matter is, or you have a lack of knowledge, you become dangerous. You become severely dangerous. You become a danger to the community. You become a danger to law enforcement. They become a danger to themselves. And the reason being, when you see things like in the malls and stuff, like here where we live at, if they got a 200 pair of Michael Jordan tennis shoes on, and you got two people that bump into each other. If you got an educated man over here, and you got an educated man over here, and one man's got a $200 suit on, and this man has got a $500 pair of shoes on, and both of those educated men bump into each other, and they scruff up the clothes or the shoes. The educated man is going to say, you know what, I'm sorry, it was an accident. The next educated man is going to accept it. He's going to say, that's okay. He said, I'll get it cleaned. Because the education is the key to saying, hey, human life is more valuable than a pair of damn Michael Jordan tennis shoes. So you're talking about not only the taking of a human life, you're also talking about losing your life to a jail cell. Now, but when you got a lack of education, especially like I said, in the African American community in America, you got male black that spends his last dime on a pair of $200 Michael Jordan tennis shoes. His last dime. You step on those shoes, he's got a gun, he's probably going to kill you because he's dangerous. Because there's nothing you're going to be able to say to him to bring it back. You can say, excuse me, man, I'm sorry. He's still going to, because he don't understand. Because again, it's not only is it not an education problem, there's a parenting problem. In the black community, over 97 to 98%, and I'm not just talking, these are statistics that I've looked up. 97 to 98% of male blacks in the United States of America have no fathers in the household at all whatsoever.
But do you think that's due to the welfare state? The many handouts are given by the government? Would that be an influence?
Well, it's got a big influence on it. That started, and for the people that can remember, or the people that's intelligent enough to go look it up, in around the 1960s, when you had certain Democratic presidents that got in office. One of them was Lyndon B. Johnson, and he came forward and he said, you know what? You can give the something for free, and he'll vote Democrat for the next 200 years. Anybody can go back and research this, the sayings of Lyndon B. Johnson. He really said this. And this is the reason why you see over 99% of black people in America vote Democrat, because we were conditioned to do it. Even not me. I thought that's what you're supposed to do. I had no reason behind it. I thought that's what you're supposed to do. And the reason being was because I grew up poor, but I knew every month my mother got welfare and food stamps. And I knew, or I was conditioned in my mind to think if a Republican got in office, that those welfare and food stamps were going to be gone. That's what I was taught. I really was taught this, which is insanity. Wow. And I would hear the Republican Party would actually get on TV and say, we're going to create more jobs. Well, these same people, it became fairly clear they didn't want to work. I'm not going to necessarily say that they was poor by choice, because a lot of, I think that would be fair, because a lot of black people did suffer at the hand of Jim Crow laws and things like that. And the Jim Crow laws back in the old South was a system. Or a lot of people call it today, they call it systemic racism. Like, for example, segregation. If I got a warehouse over here, and this warehouse is paying a whole lot of money, but I may say, well, you can't work here because you're black or Hispanic. Only this race can work here. But there is another warehouse over here you can work. It don't pay nowhere close to what this one pays. But over here is only allowed for blacks or Hispanics. So that's what the old Jim Crow South was kind of like. It was segregated off. And so a lot of blacks came from the era where they was even denied education. So I don't think it's fair to say that a lot of them at that particular time was poor because they chose to be. I think a lot of them had no choice. You cannot be a good quality police officer unless you have the skills to deal with every race of people and their culture. Even if you do not have the experience on dealing with a certain race or culture, the good, well-rounded police officer goes out and he finds a way to learn the culture of those people. Like, for example, when I was still full-time on the police department, there was an area that I was patrolling. And in that particular area was 99% Hispanic. A large portion of them couldn't speak English. Well, I just didn't think that was fair. When they called the police, we couldn't communicate with them. And sometimes we wouldn't have a Spanish-speaking officer on the shift. So what I did was, I went out and purposely started trying to learn as much Spanish as I could to try to communicate.
I mean, let me ask you, you weren't paid by this. I mean, for this. Oh, so you did this on your own?
I did this on my own because I think when you have a police officer that cares, I never took the job as being a police officer for how much money I made. Of course, I need money to make it. You got to have money to pay your bills and to take care of your family and your children and stuff like that. But I never went out there just saying how much money I'm gonna make as a police officer. I really love being a policeman. So having said that, when I went out there and I've done things like that, like made ways to communicate with this Hispanic neighborhood, or I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Once again, my name is Eric. I'm going to be putting out more videos like this to try to inform the public, to reach out to people. We're going to be talking about a lot of things, not just police stuff. We're going to be talking about things, sometimes political stuff. We may be talking about things that go on in the community. We may be talking about things that just go on in the grocery store or something. We're going to be talking about everything. We may even talk about some fitness sometimes. I think we're gonna try to do something at least once a week. I hope y'all find it interesting. If you did, please subscribe to this channel so I can make more videos, so I can bring the knowledge to you. And share this with people. Share it with as many people as you possibly can, because knowledge is power. Because the more people that see the truth, then the more people will stop. So please push that subscribe button, like it, share it. Thank you so much for your time. And again, my name is Eric, and I'll see y'all soon.